Detroit's financial troubles unfold like a gripping tale of a once thriving metropolis that fell into a deep crisis. Once celebrated as the heart of America's automotive industry, Detroit began to falter as global competition and shifting consumer preferences took a toll on its auto giants, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. Job cuts and contract losses from these companies left the city grappling with dwindling revenue and rising unemployment. The situation was further exacerbated by decades of poor management, corruption, and outdated infrastructure. Leaders relied on short-term fixes rather than tackling the root causes, leading to a steep decline in tax revenues and escalating costs. By 2013, Detroit's predicament reached a breaking point, making it the largest U.S. city ever to declare bankruptcy, with over $18 billion in debt owed to creditors, including retirees and bondholders. The ensuing bankruptcy process was marked by tough negotiations, resulting in painful cuts to pensions and services and a complete financial overhaul. Yet, Detroit's story is also one of remarkable resilience. As the city works tirelessly to recover, it draws on its rich history while striving to rebuild its economy and reputation for a more stable future. So, in today's video, let's take a look into the rise and fall of the once wealthy city, Detroit. Detroit's storied history began in 1701 when French military leader Antoine de Lamoth Cadillac established a settlement at the strategic strait connecting Lake Erie and Lake Huron. Cadillac led 100 French soldiers and 100 Algonquins to build Fort Pontchartrain due Detroit from logs, aiming to safeguard the French fur trade from English and Iroquois threats. His early efforts to attract Native American allies like the Huron, Miami, Ottawa, and Chippewa were somewhat successful, with these tribes setting up nearby villages. By the fall of 1704, Detroit's burgeoning community saw the birth of its first European child, Marie-Therese Cadillac, and had an estimated 2,000 Native American residents surrounding the settlement. Despite these initial successes, Cadillac's tenure was marred by tensions and conflicts. A notable confrontation in 1706 resulted in the deaths of Father Nicholas de Lal and 30 Ottawa during a skirmish ignited by a minor incident involving a French commander's dog. Cadillac's administration was also marked by financial disputes as he imposed high rents and crop shares on settlers. His greed and unpopular governance eventually led to his removal in 1710, after which he was appointed governor of the French colony in Louisiana. The years that followed saw Detroit grapple with further strife. In 1712, escalating tensions with the Fox Indians led to a prolonged siege of Fort Pontchartrain, though the Fox were eventually repelled by allied Huron, Ottawa, and Potawatomi. The fort itself was rebuilt in 1715 to bolster French control over the upper Great Lakes. By 1720, Detroit's population was a modest 200, and church records indicated a struggling community marked by neglect and high mortality rates. Despite these challenges, the settlement grew slowly over the next few decades. By 1740, the first home outside the fort was constructed by farmer Jean-Baptiste Baudry, signaling a modest expansion. The French continued to fortify Detroit in the face of increasing tensions with the British, sending troops and supplies to maintain their position. However, by 1751, the French settlement was still relatively small, with a population of 483, including a significant number of enslaved Native and African Americans. The French and Indian War, part of the larger 7 Years' War between England and France, intensified Detroit's strategic importance. In 1760, British Major Robert Rogers captured Detroit, and as part of the post-war treaty, Britain officially took control of the settlement from the French. In 1815, Detroit officially became a city and began a period of remarkable transformation. Its strategic location and burgeoning industrial advancements fueled a rapid expansion throughout the 19th century. Following a catastrophic fire in 1805, Augustus B. Woodward redesigned the city's layout, drawing inspiration from Pierre Charles L'Enfant's plans for Washington, D.C. His vision of monumental avenues and traffic circles emanating from Campus Martius Park not only redefined Detroit's urban landscape, but also set a tone of grandeur that earned the city the nickname Paris of the West. By the late 19th century, Detroit had expanded significantly along Jefferson Avenue, with a surge of manufacturing firms capitalizing on its river and rail connections. As the city evolved, its architectural splendor became evident. The Gilded Age mansions rising east of downtown and Washington Boulevard illuminated by Thomas Edison's recent electric innovations. Detroit's skyline grew more dynamic throughout the 20th century with the addition of impressive skyscrapers that anchored its vibrant downtown. The city's prosperity was further bolstered by the automobile industry, which earned Detroit its iconic moniker, Motor City. Henry Ford's revolutionary assembly line not only transformed manufacturing, but also solidified Detroit as a pivotal center of automobile production, driving both economic growth and cultural flourishing. The rise of Motown Records during this period added a musical dimension to Detroit's global impact. This is the era where Detroit's industrial might and suburban expansion reshaped the metropolitan area into one of the largest in the United States. Immigrants and migrants from various backgrounds contributed richly to the city's economic and cultural tapestry. However, as the century progressed, the auto industry's restructuring and subsequent troubles led to a sharp decline in jobs and population. Despite these setbacks, the late 20th and early 21st centuries have witnessed a resurgence of revitalization efforts. Detroit's historic neighborhoods and landmark buildings, many listed in the National Register of Historic Places, now stand as testaments to its storied past and a hopeful signal of its potential future. In the wake of World War II, Detroit underwent profound changes that reshaped its economic and social landscape. The city's wartime boom had cemented its reputation as the arsenal of democracy, with factories converting from automobile production to manufacturing tanks, jeeps, and bombers. Ford's Willow Run plant, in particular, became a symbol of wartime efficiency, cranking out a B-24 Liberator bomber every hour. This period of industrial vigor, however, was accompanied by significant social upheaval. As African Americans from the South flocked to Detroit seeking better economic opportunities and escape from Jim Crow laws, the city's housing crisis deepened. Exploitative landlords inflated rents, and racial segregation intensified as white residents and politicians opposed public housing initiatives, fueling racial tensions that would erupt into violence. The post-war years initially promised prosperity. Detroit's automobile industry thrived, driven by the demand for new cars and the development of an expansive highway system that facilitated suburban growth. However, the same period saw the decline of public transit, with streetcars being replaced by buses and highways, a controversial move that many felt betrayed the city's historic transit infrastructure. The 1950s and 1960s marked a pivotal shift. The construction of expressways and suburban shopping centers like Northland Center exemplified the era's focus on suburban living and consumerism, sidelining urban development. Although the city experienced a temporary boom in the post-war economy, with high wages and a growing middle class, the benefits were unevenly distributed. Automation and factory relocations led to job losses, and the powerful auto unions, while advocating for civil rights legislation, often failed to address racial disparities within their ranks. By the late 1960s, Detroit's issues came to a head. The city was plagued by failed urban renewal projects and rising crime rates. The 1967 riot, the most devastating of the era, underscored the deep-seated racial and economic fractures. The following decade brought new challenges, including a global energy crisis and competition from more fuel-efficient foreign cars. As Detroit struggled with these pressures, its former economic might began to wane, setting the stage for a complex era of decline and eventual revitalization. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, Detroit grappled with a turbulent economic landscape and a series of social challenges that further tarnished its once-storied reputation. As the city struggled under the weight of mounting taxes, a dwindling population, and spiraling debt, it became emblematic of urban decline. The situation was exacerbated by a series of scandals involving Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, whose legal troubles and corruption charges only deepened the city's woes and damaged its public image. The financial strain reached a critical point in 2013 when Detroit became the largest U.S. city to declare bankruptcy. The move was a desperate measure to address its staggering debt and financial mismanagement. However, by 2014, Detroit had emerged from bankruptcy, beginning a period of cautious recovery. Efforts to revitalize the city included new housing developments and significant investments in the downtown area, aiming to reclaim some of the city's former vibrancy. Despite these efforts and some visible improvements, Detroit's recovery has been uneven. High poverty rates remain a persistent issue, and there are ongoing concerns about gentrification and displacement. As new developments transform parts of the city, longtime residents and community advocates worry about the impact on existing neighborhoods, fearing that rising property values and rents may push out those who have weathered the city's decline. Thus, while Detroit's narrative includes a hopeful chapter of rebirth and investment, the city continues to face complex challenges as it navigates its path toward a more equitable and sustainable future. And with that, I will end this video. This is Visionomics signing out.